Hello, good morning everyone. So myself Dr. Umakant Deshmukh, on the occasion of online refresher course in gender sensitization that have been arranged by UGC HRDC Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Marathwada University 2022. My topic of seminar on this online refresher course on the basis of this gender sensitization. So my topic of discussion, today's discussion or seminar is basic concepts of sex and gender, masculinity and femininity and patriarchy. So today I am going to discuss about these three concepts. Now, what are the basic objectives of learning these three concepts? The study of concepts of sex and gender used in feminist work. So this concept of the sex and gender that have been used in feminist work. Another concept is that to understand the concept of masculinity and femininity as an analytical categories, and the last concept or the last objective of this seminar is to study the concept of patriarchy and male dominance in society. So in this seminar or in this concept we are going to discuss the gender studies. There are several such concepts that provide the framework in the study of behavior. The concept of gender first of all developed by Al Matthews in 1984 in her study of construction of femininity. So first of all, this concept of gender that has been developed by Matthews in 1984, and according to the Matthews, the concept of gender gives a recognition to the fact that every known society distinguishes between women and men. Therefore, the term concept of gender is a systematic way of understanding men and women socially and the patterning of relationship between them. So these all are nothing but the concept about the gender. Now we come towards the what are actually the sex and gender. So the term sex and gender are concepts used by academicians, researchers, feminist writers to make a distinction between the biologically different male and female and between the socially different man and woman. Feminist sociologists suggest that there is a need to understand and distinguish between the two terms sex and gender in academic discourse and writing. So here you see that now we have to discuss about the what are the basic differences between sex and gender. So whenever we're talking about the sex and gender, sometimes what happened that some people or some of them unknowingly they understand that sex and gender is the same thing. No, they are not the same thing. There are so many differences in between the sex and gender. Then what are the differences between the sex and gender? Sex refers to the biological and physiological differences between the male and female on the basis of their reproductive structure, whereas gender refers to the social, cultural, behavioral and emotional differences between men and women. So sex is a biological difference, sex is a natural difference, but the gender that refers to the social, cultural, behavioral and emotional difference between the men and women. Then the sex has two main categories, that is the male and female. But here you see that the main categories of gender are masculine and feminine. Sex is determined or it is inherited by birth, but gender is influenced by social, cultural and behavioral factors. Then generally sex role cannot be changed by time and culture. सेक्स का जो रोल होता है वो कभी भी नहीं बदलता है. But here is that the gender is flexible term and its role can be changed by time and culture. Here is that in case of the sex, only woman can give birth to the children and only men can impregnate. So that cannot get changed. But here is that in case of the gender, woman can perform men's role as the social duties of the men. That is, it can become a doctor, it can engineer. Men can also adopt women's social duties such as feeding and caring kids. But here is that sex cannot get changed. Sex is created by the reproductive need, that is the biological feature. But here you see that gender distinctions are created by social norms. Now, the next concept that we understand, masculinity and femininity. So, what are these particular terms related? The sex or gender differences raises the issues of male and female, that is masculine and feminine. The male associated with the masculinity and female with the femininity. With each construction, the biological differences between men and women get translated into social terms and descriptions. Feminist writer argued that biological differences get heightened through social description and masculinity and femininity. The patterns of differences by gender is seen when there is a character is either masculine or feminine. For example, here you see that the pink and blue, that gendered colors, former regarded as feminine and the latter is the masculine. So here you see here the pink color that regarded the feminine color and blue color that regarded as the masculine color. Further you see that to be strong and tough is a masculine character, being weak and soft are associated with the feminine character. Then, so what are the basic differences between this femininity and masculinity? The minimum emotional and social role differentiation between the gender. So in case of the femininity, you see here that minimum emotional and social role differentiation between the gender, and in masculinity, maximum emotional and social role differentiation between the gender. Femininity, in case of the femininity, men and women should be modest and caring. But in masculinity, men should be and woman may be assertive and ambitious. Balance this femininity, in case of the femininity, they are going to balance between family and work. But in case of the masculinity, work prevails over the family. In case of the femininity, sympathy for the weak. But here is that in case of masculinity, admiration for the strong. So in femininity, both fathers and mothers deals with the facts of the feeling. But in case of the masculinity, father deals with the facts, mother with the feeling. Both boys and girls may cry, but neither should fight. In case of the femininity, but here is that in case of the masculinity, girls cries, boys don't. Boys should fight back, girls shouldn't fight back. So mother decide on the number. Mother cannot decide the number of children, but here you see that the father can decide on the family size. Many men in elected political positions in case of the femininity, but here you see that few women is elected political positions. So this is nothing but a femininity, and in case of the masculinity, there are so many differences. The religion focus on the fellow human beings, and here in masculinity, religion focus on the gods and the gods. The matter of fact attitude about the sexuality, sex is the way of relating in case of the femininity, and moralistic attitude about the sexuality, sex is the way of performing. So you see, these all are nothing but some of the basic differences between the femininity and masculinity. Now the last topic that I have to discuss with you is the patriarchy. So what is actually the patriarchy? The term patriarchy implies male domination. किसी भी फैमिली में जो मेल होता है, पुरुष होता है, उसका डोमिनेंस, whatever is going to suggest it, that is called patriarchy, or it is also going to be called as male prejudice, that is against human. Another term you're going to say that more simply, that is the male power. But simply the terms, it means the absolute rule of the father or the eldest male member over his family. तो आपके घर का कोई भी जो बड़ा मेल सदस्य होता है, उसका पूरे फैमिली के ऊपर कब्जा होता है या उसका पूरे पकड़ होती है. So that concept is going to be called as patriarchy. Patriarchy is thus the rule of the father over all women in the family and also over the younger socially and economically subordinate males. Literally, patriarchy is the rule by the male head of the social unit, like the family or the tribe. Patriarch is typically a societal elder who has legitimate power over others in the social unit. So here is that patriarchy is suggesting how the male going to control other peoples or the female. The term patriarchy is not only a descriptive term that explains how different societies construct male authority and power, but also patriarchy autonomically privileges men over the woman, such that women have a little or no claim to material, sexual, or intellectual resources of the society. That is, in a patriarchal society, women have to struggle to be educated, to have poverty, or to make choices regarding their marriage and the other aspects of the life. For men, these resources are a matter of right and can make choice that affect their lives. So here is that this suggesting that particular patriarchy. So how patriarchy going to control the social system? So what do men control in patriarchy system? क्या पावर है ह्यूमन के पास, मेल के पास, जो कंट्रोल करते हैं सिस्टम को? तो सबसे पहला जो पावर होता है, so they going to understand that the women's are labor. So here is that the first concept is given here, women's productive or labor power. So men control women's productivity both within the household and outside in a paid work. Within the household, women provide all kinds of services to their husband, children, and the other member of the family throughout their life. Men also control women labor outside the home. They make women sell their labor, or they may prevent their women from working. So here you see that in this way, the men going to control as human as a labor. Then another aspect or another type where men going to control women are nothing but the women's reproduction. I already told you that before this, male having the choice to make the children to increase its family, but female cannot having that right. Men also control the woman's reproductive power. In many societies, women have no control over the reproduction capacities. They cannot decide how many children they want, whether to use contraceptives or to decisions to terminate the pregnancy. In addition, male control social institutions like the religion and politics, which are male dominated. So control is institutionalized by the laying down rules regarding the woman's reproductive capacity. Third, where also the control over the human is that control of men over the human sexuality. Male going to control the woman's sexuality. Women are obligated to provide the sexual service to their husband according to their needs and desires. Moral and legal regulation exists to restrict the expression of women's sexuality outside the marriage in every society, while mere promiscuity is often condemned. Another way of expressing control over the woman's sexuality is where men force their wives, daughters, or other women in their control into the prostitution. Rape and threat of rape is another way in which women's sexuality is controlled through notion of shame and honor, family honor. Lastly, women's sexuality is controlled through their dress, behavior, mobility, which are carefully monitored by the family and through social and cultural religious codes of the behavior. The fourth way by which again male going to control women's are women's mobility. Besides control of women's sexuality, production and reproduction, men also controls the women's mobility. The imposition of purdah restriction on the house, limit on interaction between the sexes are some of the ways by which the patriarchal society controls women's mobility and freedom of the movement. Such restrictions are unique to the human, while men are not subject to such a type of the restriction. And the last topic or the last way by which men going to control the human are nothing but the poverty, not poverty, but the property and other economic resources. Mostly the property and other productive resources are controlled by men and are passed on from father to son. Even in societies where women have legal rights to inherit property, customary practices, social sanctions and emotional pressure that prevent them from the acquiring control over them. According to the United Nations statistics, women do not more than 60% of the hours of work done in the world, but they get only 10% of the world's income and owns near about the 1% of the world's total property. So here is that these all are nothing but the basic differences in this today's concept we discussed are nothing but the sex and the gender. Then masculinity and femininity is there, and the last one is nothing but the patriarchy. So thank you very much.